Welcome to the Explainer. If you're a senior manager or a team leader right now, you are almost certainly facing this massive, kind of unspoken hurdle. Pretty much every CEO out there wants an AI-powered company. But on the ground, managers are running straight into a brick wall of employee pushback, anxiety, and frankly, a lot of apathy. So today, we're breaking down a super practical guide based on recent industry insights to help you navigate this exact challenge. We're going to look at why your team is resisting AI, and more importantly, give you the exact leadership playbook you need to fix it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with the AI resistance paradox, then tracking AI fitness levels, reframing fear as leadership gaps, validating employee self-worth, and finally, fostering an experimental culture.
Section 1. The AI resistance paradox.
Now, what's really interesting about this data is the massive disconnect we're seeing. Look at this gap. Usage is actually way up. 67% of knowledge workers report using AI at least weekly, but only 30% are genuinely excited about it. Think about that. You've got a workforce where the vast majority are using these tools, but hardly anyone actually wants to. They aren't angry, they're just indifferent. And it's simply because they haven't connected AI to the actual meaningful work they do every day.
Section 2. Tracking AI fitness levels. If we want to move past that indifference, we need to clearly define what success actually looks like. Think of this chronologically, kind of like an AI fitness score. Level 1 is zero value, just not getting anything out of it. Level 2 is actually where most companies are totally stuck right now. They're experimenting with one-off tasks, like, summarizing a single email. But the real magic happens at level 3. That's where AI becomes embedded into repeatable, everyday workflows. It literally becomes your operating system. And finally, level 4, well, that's for your advanced system builders.
So the crucial point here is this number, 80%. You do not become an AI-powered organization just because you have a handful of level 4 experts running around. You hit that milestone when you get 80% of your entire workforce to level 3. That's the real goal. As a manager, your target isn't just generating vague awareness. It's actively moving your team into repeatable, daily AI workflows.
Section 3. Reframing fear as leadership gaps.
But how do you actually hit that 80% when people are actively pushing back? Well, it requires a major paradigm shift. We usually look at common employee fears, worrying about getting fired or being afraid of getting in trouble for cheating with AI. But the reality is, these aren't just irrational phobias. They are direct symptoms of missing leadership signals. If they fear getting in trouble, your expectations are unclear. If they don't know what to use it for, leadership hasn't connected it to their real work. Employee pushback isn't crazy. It is a totally rational response to ambiguity.
I absolutely love this quote from Bryce Shalom because it completely flips the script. Fear is the outcome of poor change management, not the cause of resistance. Let that sink in for a second. This abruptly shifts the burden of AI adoption straight away from the employee and right back to you, the manager. Instead of asking, how do I reduce my team's fear, you really need to be asking, what am I doing or not doing that is creating this fear in the first place?
And this brilliantly illustrates the devastating cost of a manager's behavior. The numbers tell the whole story. When a manager openly recognizes and rewards AI use, employee anxiety plummets to just 4%. But when a manager just remains silent, that anxiety jumps fivefold to 20%. And if you actively discourage it, anxiety rockets up to 33%. Your behavior literally matters more than almost anything else when it comes to adoption.
The big takeaway here? Silence is not neutral. Employees interpret a manager's silence as active skepticism. If you aren't openly talking about AI, your team assumes you just don't support it, and their adoption is going to stall out entirely. They take all their cues directly from you.
Section 4. Validating employee self-worth.
Let's slow down a second here, because getting past resistance isn't just about workflows and OKRs. It deals with identity. It deals with job security. Think about it. Many individual contributors have aligned their entire self-worth with tasks that AI can now largely automate. Things like intensive research, or drafting, or pulling data. The totally wrong move here? Toxic positivity. Just waving away their concerns with a cheery, "Oh, you won't lose your job." The right approach is deeply empathetic leadership. You have to validate the intense pride they have in their past work and explicitly map those traditional skills right into this new AI landscape.
So here is your step-by-step empathy playbook. Let's say you've got a top data analyst who prides herself on building these incredibly complex, manual Excel models. First, seek to understand her process and what parts she truly enjoys. Second, validate that amazing past work so she doesn't feel insulted or replaceable. Third, sit down and have a genuinely honest discussion about automating the lower-value, repetitive parts of her day. And finally, frame AI as the tool that's going to free up her time for higher leverage, creative judgment, and strategic thinking. Be direct, be honest, and show them exactly how their core talents are still absolutely crucial.
Section 5. Fostering an experimental culture.
Okay, let's speed things back up with some rapid-fire, implementable tools you can take into the workplace right now. To cure the ambiguity that causes all this fear, you need an AI manifesto. Now, this is not a 50-page document full of corporate jargon. It's a simple, super specific statement of belief detailing your team's ambition, your speed, and your operating norms. And you've got to update it quarterly because this tech moves incredibly fast. Creating this is literally one of the highest ROI actions you can take to provide clear direction.
You also need to completely normalize exploration. And here's a great insider tip. This is the exact script you should use in your team meetings. What AI experiment do we run this week? What was your win or your fail? Asking this single question consistently sends a massive signal to your team. It tells them that experimentation is expected and that not having a perfect outcome every time is totally fine.
Let's move to how this builds into your actual week. You need structural accountability. You can't just bring up AI once a year. Here's your new template for one-on-ones. Dedicate just 5 minutes to ask, what is one roadblock you hit with AI recently, and what is one new prompt you tried? And for performance metrics, don't just measure usage, measure outcomes. Track things like hours of manual work saved per week, or number of repeatable workflows automated right in your OKRs. Tie AI proficiency directly to performance reviews, and maybe even create a dedicated team Slack channel just for sharing these wins.
And when you are discussing these things, you have to normalize what we affectionately call AI slop. We've all seen it, right? The AI that confidently hallucinates a non-existent company policy or writes an email that sounds like a 19th century robot. Openly sharing these terrible first drafts actually builds tremendous trust and psychological safety. It paints a realistic picture of the technology instead of some polished corporate fantasy. Plus, setting the expectation that employees must review and refine the slop ensures they aren't just passing all the cognitive load right back up to you.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this conclusive thought. The organizations that get this right will not necessarily be the ones with the best technology, but the ones that do the best job helping their people navigate this change. AI transformation is, at the end of the day, a human challenge. It is a leadership challenge, not an IT one. So, I'll leave you with this provocative question to chew on. Are you leaving your team's AI transition to chance, through silence and ambiguity? Or are you ready to step up, have the hard conversations, and actively lead the change? The tools are all there. The playbook is totally clear. The next move is yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.